be really brave, you've got to understand yourself. We had, all of us, myself included, had the courage of our convictions because we'd gone deep. And we'd gone deep in terms of the human insights associated with this, the human feelings, and our own personal introspection. So when the going got tough, we were ready to weather that storm and take it on. Having courage to do something where you may get criticized, you've got to make sure that you have a strong foundation.
Bravery for me, for the marketers, is really standing behind your vision, understanding it well, doing your research in advance, knowing your audience, and then taking a risky idea and a vision forward, knowing that it may backfire, that there's increased chance of failure and criticism, and that the idea may just fail, but you know it's the right vision and you stay behind it, and I think that's great.
If we have the reaction to say, oh my God, it cannot be done, that's a really important thing, or oh my God, they're never going to do it, then we know we're on the path of bravery.
I think often it's fear that's stopping us, and so it would be really easy, to just say no, but then nothing will happen. You won't have any impact. Because we have such a great partnership and we are so relaxed with each other on the work, and we really trust each other, I think that makes it a lot easier for a brand to be brave, and for an agency to be brave as well.
If you are thinking the same way, it's just actually quite easy to get it out. Even if it's, it's hard to say if it's brave or not.
Yeah.
It just makes sense to get it out.
Yes.
If we are not afraid, we shouldn't do it. You need to feel it. It needs to be a little bit uncomfortable. So my advice would be, do it even when you are afraid.
When there is a mechanism, a formula that works, we try to replicate it. I think bravery is about actually challenging ourselves and trying to do things differently.
A lot of people ask us, how did you get such a brave campaign through? And I think at the end of the day, we didn't really see it as all that brave. I think we had a very specific business problem that we had to address, and this work, from the very, very early days, would clearly accomplish that. If we take the fear out of bravery, it becomes that much easier to execute on. We're not in the business of being reckless. These are very calculated business solutions to very specific business problems.
Marketers today are much braver than they ever were. The only way to stand out is to be brave, do something different. And when you do that, people notice, and you build a bit of love and that emotional connection, which ultimately works well towards the brand. So I would say keep doing that. And for those who aren't doing it, please do that.
Being willing to have personal introspection about my own biases. We had to change. I looked at my daughters and said, okay, I can't let them grow up seeing these stereotypical images. And most recently at AdColor, I gave a talk and shared a very personal point, which is that I'm half Mexican. I came out, so to speak, both internally at P&G and externally, and it really gave me a lot more courage to do work that really will break boundaries.
I come from a culture that's, women are not allowed to do anything other than get married. Well, I did get married and I have 2 kids and I love my husband and all that. But, I spent my entire life doing things that I was told I could never do.
What I consider brave in my life is making very difficult decisions in light of adversity, and making it possible, and making decisions on behalf of other people, I think, is the most complex thing. I consider listening to my own instincts being brave and being courageous. When others say don't do it, you have to listen to your voice, and if you know it's right, you move forward regardless if decision is very challenging.
A lot of it has to do with probably letting go of control. We as humans try to control things, and I think what we learn is that if we let go and let them steer us kind of organically, we find the better solutions anyway.
If you want to leave a mark, you need to do something different. And doing something different will require you to take some risk, to do the jump, to have a leap of faith on something, to live a life that's memorable and full of experience that are memorable and different.
We live in an age of consent. So we try to please clients, we try to please the audience, we try to please also internally, challenging ourselves, and be ready to receive a no is quite brave nowadays.
Just live in the moment, make the best out of that moment, and get to what's next when it comes. Be prepared for lots of different things, but just enjoy it.
Lucky I work for a brand that's actually okay to make mistakes. So for me, it's kind of like I don't have to be brave that much. It's great not to have to be driven by fear, because I think it allows us to get them to the next step.
In our agency, it's sometimes people saying like, "Oh, the client is not going to buy that." So I think for me, it's that challenge of like always constantly talking to people about don't stop just because you have a great idea. Actually, that's where it starts. Believe that everything is possible.
Our industry should focus on key topics such as gender and racial equality. Advertising and media in general affect perceptions. So we can use our voices to be able to really accurately and positively portray people. Beyond that, we need to move behind the camera, because the entire creative supply chain is not equal. Only a third of chief creative officers and chief marketing officers are women. Very few are Black, Latino, or Asian. And only 10% of commercials are produced by women. When we have equality behind the camera, it's going to be a lot better in front of the camera.
The most important generation is our youth. And I don't hear our industry speak about youth in a way that I'd like to hear it be spoken about. Not as an audience that we're targeting, not as people that we need to understand their behavior and then give them some marketing trick. What I'd like to see is the industry really taking very seriously as to what we market, what we prepare, what we put out there, how it's going to impact the future generation.
And I think as our trust in government declines, our hope and belief that brands and organizations and companies are going to create societal change becomes even more, sort of important. Now, when I take every transaction and when my transactions are a vote of values, I think the opportunity for brands and companies to become brave and take on the issues of the world become paramount and almost become sort of a survival imperative.
We need to organize our behavior more so around benefits to others. And that includes marketers, that includes brands, that includes companies, that includes citizens, and it will shift everything that's happening around us.
If you think 10 or 20 years ago, now we are in a moment of politically correct topics, and sometimes we overgo in terms of tackling topics that are not so connected with the brand themselves. Bravery for brands today and in the future will be more about the way we reinvent ourselves, but still focusing on relevancy. Today it's all about being relevant for the target.
So you will continue to see things around equality, around diversity, around inclusion, around gun control. These are hot topics on the world out there, and more brands are taking stands and having a point of view on those things, because the brands want to be relevant to people.
The main thing is in creativity is the thinking and the big ideas, and that's going to be consistent whether it was 24 months ago or 24 months in the future. So just be consistently doing great stuff.
We need to address the topics that are most relevant to our brands' businesses, but ultimately if we're not being authentic to what we actually provide as a brand, it comes off as inauthentic and loses all its value. So I would say, be authentic and carry out your voice